Good morning, teacher and classmate. Today, I want to present you the analysis that I did for the book Raymond. First, I want to tell you that Raymond was written by Leonard Fletcher. Fletcher, that she was a writer that dedicate all her novels to with the objective to that in the future that books could make a movie. So first, to start with the summary, I want to tell you who are the main characters. And the main characters are Charlie Babbitt and Raymond Babbitt. So they were brothers, and Raymond tells a story about two brothers that were separate when Charlie Babbitt, that who is the younger brother, was 2 or 3 years. Um, Raymond Babbitt, the eldest brother, is autistic, and so tells a story about why they were separate. And it was because when Raymond was maybe 20 years, and when Charlie was 2 or 3 years old, he Raymond tried to drown Charlie Babbitt, who is the younger brother. So when Charlie was 2 years old, he was very, very young and very little. So he didn't remember that he had a brother. So, and that's why that's the central point of the story. So, when this happened, Raymond was institutionalized uh, for that because the Charlie's parents thought that Raymond was a danger for Charlie. So Charlie took away from no they took Raymond away from Charlie. Sorry, and Charlie didn't remember anything about this, and because he was very young. So when he was an adult, his father died, and that was the beginning of the story. He was trying reclaim the heritage of his father, and he didn't imagine that his father left in a will that his eldest brother was owner of his fortune. Charlie was very upset and very angry and didn't understand the illness of Raymond. Uh, he thought everything was a drama from Raymond, and Raymond was pretty intelligent. So Charlie didn't understand what was the problem with the illness of Raymond. So Charlie started to use Raymond to obtain money in different ways, but especially he tried to convince Raymond that Raymond give him give to Charlie the father's money. Um, but all this story has a surprise final because at final, sorry, Raymond told uh, told Charlie that they were brothers, and he remembered to Charlie that when Charlie was a child, had a secret friend that his name was Raymond, but actually the secret friend was Raymond. But as Charlie was 2 or 3 years old, he didn't pronounce well Raymond names Raymond's name. So That's why he pronounced Raymond. So for Charlie was very surprised to recognize or realize that they were brothers. But and when this happened, Charlie started to love Raymond, and he in authentic way, wanted to live with Raymond, but for Raymond's illness, his study was under Lia's power, so they couldn't live together. And Charlie lived so far away from Raymond, so it was very sad to Charlie to discover that his his eldest brother was Raymond, and that he was her secret friend. When he three topics is, and I want to talk about something Jim was reproaching why Raymond and not him. He had been upset and angry for months before he understood that Raymond was his brother. So, in perspective, Charlie felt that Raymond didn't deserve his father's money because, according Charlie, while Raymond was working, was Charlie was working and worrying about his growth, and not even Raymond wasn't in another place that he didn't know. Um, and he thought that Raymond wasn't part of family life. So for him, he didn't deserve that money. But I think that the truth is that Charlie's father knew Raymond couldn't be self-sufficient because of his autism, and Charlie had all the necessary abilities to survive alone. So that's why he left his money to Raymond and not to Charlie. About hate, because I think that Charlie really hate his father. They didn't have a good relationship, so he only worried about money, and he never didn't thought, or he never didn't think all possibilities, or all the reasons that take or that took to he to his father to left to let to lead to leave, sorry, all his money to his eldest brother. And finally, I want to talk about transformation, because I think that maybe in the book doesn't talk about what happened after that Charlie knows that Raymond was his brother. But I think that we can see a transformation in Charlie, um, because even though Charlie had felt that his father was unjust, he learned to love Raymond, and he started to look at him like his brother. Uh, Regrettably, it was very late to do it because lawyers had decided that Raymond couldn't live with Charlie. So it was so shocking for Charlie, and he had a lot of things, but most important, I think that he realized that all these uh, assault uh, made that he broke up with his wife just because he was too pushy about father's money, and because he was very arrogant about that, and he didn't want to hear to his Wi-Fi. Uh, so finally, he got along with our family. So I think that he had to transform himself and incorporate teachings to his life. Um, in conclusion, I think that this book showed what's most important in life, and it's not money. Sometimes our projects, but almost sometimes our projects neither, and almost the time, the most important thing in life is our family and people that we love, because we are social social animals. So we need to be in touch with people and make deep relationships, deep links. Sometimes, and I think the other topic and the other conclusion that it's important to recognize here is that sometimes it's very difficult to recognize that even us don't know ourselves and don't know ourselves at all and our own stories, because sometimes we forget important things because of trauma. It's very hard, um, and we act from some ways that we don't understand why, and it's because we are like a Pandora's box. And so we are constantly discovering ourselves with the path of life. And I think the best teaching this book left me is that we don't know everything about us, less about other people. So we can't know exactly why they do the things that they do. So sometimes we have to accept the action of others and understand that we don't have power over them. And maybe the thing that we could do is always try to explore that what things are making that I or that we face things in a particular way. For example, for me, this book is an explanation of the fact that sometimes we have to take time to understand things, but sometimes uh, there's no reason, and it's just the reality, and we have to accept it. So, and we have to accept it because we have to take the most important teachings that that event gave us. So for me, it was a really good book, and I hope that we can talk about this in class. So thank you for your attention. I hope that you like my presentation.